Hey everybody, I'm John.
And I'm Natalie, and we are American Tifosi. On this podcast, we talk about everything Formula One, drama on the track, drama off the track. We talk about it here today. And today, we're going to be talking about a little review of the Canada GP and a preview of the Austria.
Yeah, we didn't really do a full Canadian GP review, but Natalie, what was your lasting memory from that race?
Unfortunately, it's gonna have to be Lewis hitting that groundhog. I know he was a little shaken up about it. I'm sure the groundhog was shaken up about it. Um, and of course, we're gonna talk about Lando Norris a little bit, but I would say those two things.
Yeah, I would agree on both counts, especially since I kind of had predicted a good weekend for Ferrari. Lewis looked really well, he qualified really well, and then Gary the groundhog jumped out in front of him. Lewis slaughtered it and then lost 20 points of downforce, and so he was just kind of
Right.
off, and that caused my prediction to fail. But Lando crashing into Oscar has got to be I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's when you look back at the end of the season, that's going to be a lasting memory for maybe the entire season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I guess I'm glad that it happened. We've been talking about papaya rules. We haven't really brought that up in a while.
Right.
The only silver lining that I can think of is that it happened when they were battling for fourth place. Well,
Yeah.
technically third place, right? Because they were both chasing Kimmy. Um, if it had happened when they were battling for first place,
Hmm.
then or if
Yeah.
Lando would have knocked out Oscar, that would have been so huge. But as
Yeah.
it was like
Absolutely.
not a huge point impact. It's still Lando's still second in the championship,
Hmm.
and he's still within one race of Oscar. So and you made a note about him apologizing. I think that helped diffuse the situation immediately.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about the donkey and the goat of the day then, I think.
Sure. Okay. Go ahead. I kind of stole some of your thunder. So, donkey of the day.
Donkey of the day, Lando Norris, for crashing into Oscar Piastri. What was he thinking? That was terrible. Don't go for gaps that don't exist. They don't exist for a reason. So
Yeah.
he's definitely my
I mean,
donkey
and
there.
the analysis of that is, like even if he would have made it through, would he probably wouldn't have held the pass. And
Right.
if he'd have tried it on the right hand side of Oscar Piastri, um, the next turn he would have had the inside line. And so I don't
Yeah.
know. And he had newer tires. They both
Hmm.
had DRS from Kimmy. Like, and yeah, he was faster. I mean, so to me, it was like, man, just this really stupid decision. And you've heard me bring this up
Absolutely.
a bunch of times that I think Lando is no longer the best driver in McLaren. I think Oscar's better.
Agreed.
So I agree. Donkey of the day would be Lando and also Gary the Groundhog, because he caused our Ferraris to not do very well.
He
I
did.
mean, yeah. Goat of the day. I had.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, after you.
I had. It'd be easy to pick George Russell because he won from and did well. Uh, but I'm choosing Nico. Nico's got two top six or top seven finishes in the last two races,
Hmm.
and a green dumpster. And they're like, we don't talk about him enough. He's doing really well, and I'm starting to get excited because next year when Sauber becomes Audi, maybe they'll have a decent car, and maybe Nico won't have the worst record in all of Formula One history of not having a
Maybe
podium
he'll
at
hit a
most races.
podium. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll
yeah,
finally get that podium.
that's. I mean, I don't think he's going to happen in Sauber, but hopefully with Audi, and
Yeah.
he has to do well in Sauber to for Audi to keep him. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, he's my goat. What about you?
Um, my goat, I said Lando Norris, and you'll notice he's for both because he apologized right away and very quickly. Um, Maybe just to like save himself a little bit, but right away he apologized to Oscar, and Oscar said like, "No worries, I get it." I thought that was very respectful of him. McLaren continues to keep it classy, which I appreciate. But also, I know there can't be two goats, but I'm having two goats this week. Kimi Antonelli. So
I knew
happy
you'd
for
pick him.
him.
Yeah.
With the podium, he got his podium. I'm so happy for him. He's really on to great things. I think he's really gonna prosper in Formula One. And it was really, really sweet to see him up there.
Yeah, and he needed it from a rookie standpoint because Isaac
Yeah.
Hadjar was starting to steal all the rookie thunder,
Yep.
and
And
Isaac
he
kind of had an
wasn't
off weekend.
performing great. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, we talked about this last time. I don't necessarily think that it's him not performing great. I think it's been his car. I mean,
Yeah. Agreed.
he made a couple like little brain farts early on in the
Hmm.
season, but most of the time it's like his power unit failed, and
Right.
um, so as far as that goes for our predictions, I can just make this really quick and easy if you like. None of us scored points, but as a quick review, I had Lando on the pole. Of course, that didn't happen.
Right.
You had Oscar on the pole.
Hmm.
Um, I had Lando, Oscar, Charles, which really sucks because I was really trying to manifest great things for Ferrari, and that didn't work out.
No, it didn't.
You had Oscar, Lando, George. You had George on the podium, but not in
Hmm.
first place.
Right.
Bold predictions. I had both Ferraris in the top five. It was 5 and 6, unfortunately. So I blame Gary the
That's where they
groundhog.
belong. 5, 6, 7. That's their
Nope,
home this
I'm not letting
season.
you do that. And you had Lance in the top 12, and that didn't happen either. So
No.
what do you say we talk about Austria?
Let's talk about Austria, the Red Bull Ring.
The Red Bull Ring. I don't want to go on a huge long rant about this right now, but I hate that Red Bull has their own ring. I hate that they have two teams, and I
Hmm.
don't know why an energy drink company gets to do that.
I don't know why either. That makes no sense. I think that we should rant about it at least a little bit. Put step onto our pedestal. What is Red Bull doing? Why do they get all this special treatment? We get it. Max Verstappen has a few world championships, but Ferrari has I don't know how many, but a lot. And Mercedes has a lot. They don't have special rings. Where are their rings? Why does Red Bull get a ring? And two teams. How do they get two teams?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's so unfair. And I can't wait for the Red Bull downfall. And maybe Mercedes or Ferrari will pick up the crown once more.
Well,
Or
yeah,
McLaren. It's looking like McLaren, but we'll see with the new changes next year.
the regulation changes,
Yeah.
going from a ground effect regulation to a power regulation is going to
Hmm.
should favor the teams that have their own engines, right? So
Hmm.
Mercedes and Ferrari. McLaren
Right.
doesn't even have their own engines. Red Bull doesn't have their own engines, and they don't have Honda after this year. So,
Hmm.
um, to your point of Red Bull downfall, I totally agree. When I first became a fan of Formula One, I was just
Hmm.
compelled as a like a it's very Western civilization to you have to find somebody to root for and you have to find somebody to root against, and that's just something that you see in like Western society more than you say in Europe, where Europe they can just be a fan of the sport, and I wish I was more
Yeah.
that way. But for me, it was like, all right, I'm a Ferrari fan and I am a Red Bull anti-fan.
Right.
Um, and for the reasons you just discussed, Red Bull's got two teams. They've got four cars.
Hmm.
They've got the douchiest driver on the grid, and they have a
Two of
ring.
them, Liam Lawson and Max
Liam
Verstappen.
Lawson. Yeah, well, you're starting to drink the tea. I appreciate that. Um, uh, and this Max Verstappen gets to call three tracks his home race, and that pisses me off
Right.
too. He calls Spa,
Hmm.
um, Austria for this, and then so Belgium and Denmark because he
Mm.
has dual citizenship, and it's just like
Right.
why does he get all this love? And this is me not being being an anti bandwagon guy. Is like, man, I'm sick
Hmm.
of Max Verstappen. I'm sick of hearing all that anyway. But I
Yeah.
tell you all that, and if you're done with your rant, then I can be done with mine.
Okay. Me too.
So I tell you that, and I rant, but honestly, this is one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah.
Um, I know this made note of it in your notes too, but it's a short track. It's the second shortest
Hmm.
behind Monaco, um, and it has the least amount of turns. But
Hmm.
the first three turns lead to big, massive, deep three DRS zone
Yes.
straights, and
Right.
it's all an uphill climb. And then
Yep.
um, and then it's all downhill for the technical part of the track. So
Hmm.
from a television perspective, it's amazing
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it looks like they're climbing up, climbing up, climbing up, and then it's like a roller coaster down.
Hmm.
Um, and there's really good passing at Austria, and usually you don't see that or think that when it's a short track.
Right.
And then power setup for the cars on the nerd side of me. It has a something like I don't remember the number, but it's got the second most elevation change
Hmm.
in all of the Formula One calendar, and only Spa is more, but Spa is also the longest track. So what that
Right.
means is they're doing a lot of elevation change in a short amount of
Yes.
time. And that's exciting because now they have to do a power setup. Do they want to do,
Hmm.
do they set it up for high end? Do they not just downforce, but
Yeah.
also power and torque and all that stuff? So really good race. And I don't want to like it because it is Red Bull, but I do like it because it's
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little couple of quick facts for you guys. Carlos Sainz has the track record in 2020 with 1:07, and Lewis Hamilton has the lap record in 2017 with 1 minute 7 seconds. So pretty quick track.
The common denominator there, of course, is Ferrari. I'm just
Yes.
kidding.
No.
Lewis didn't get that with Ferrari.
No,
Carlos
he did
Carlos
not.
did get that with Ferrari though.
He
So
did. Yeah. So you know what? Ferrari might have a chance if it were five
so
years ago and it
well,
was the car from 5 years ago and the team from
Ferrari's.
5 years ago.
I have been yelling at you for what 3 or 4 weeks that like predicting that this is when or no 3 or 4 races that
Hmm.
teams are going to start to mail it in and you've already started like saying maybe Ferrari should start mailing it in. But I'm thinking that they didn't. I mean, there's a little bit of
Yeah.
controversy going on with Fred Vasseur, but Ferrari shipping a new floor.
Mm,
They're both, and it's either going to be here or Silverstone that they're getting their new suspension. So it doesn't seem like they're
okay.
mailing it in. Um, Obviously, they're not going to win the drivers' championship, but
Hmm.
they're within striking distance of second place of the constructors' championship. So maybe they
Hmm.
still got something to fight for, and the Ferrari lover in me still loves it. So
Well, theoretically, there's still enough races in the season that Ferrari could win and Charles could win
true, it's possible, but
if they start winning right now.
I just hope their upgrade makes them competitive, and so that we get because I think we're what this is going to be this is going to be race 11 of 24, so we're almost to the
Hmm.
halfway point.
Yes.
So we can pretty reliably say that both McLarens, George Russell and Max are always going to be kind of fighting in that top five. It'd
Right.
be nice to add Ferrari to the mix.
It would be.
Obviously
It would be.
Kimmy's going to, sprinkle in there some. Maybe who
Hmm.
knows? Maybe somebody like Fernando Alonso is going to sprinkle in there some. But it's pretty safe to assume that those four are going to be in
Yeah.
the mix at all the time. It'd be nice
Right.
to see Ferrari get in that too.
It would be. It would really be.
Another thing that
Dang.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, speaking of Mercedes and George Russell, I think we should talk about his contract a little bit.
Yeah. Uh, Go ahead.
Do you have any
I'll let
words?
you.
Okay, okay. I don't know how much you have to say about this, but he has just recently started opening up saying, there's nothing put on paper yet. He does say that he's not worried about it because he's focused on the performance of the car and the team, but that he is wanting some pen to paper on his contract renewal. And I think
Yeah.
it's interesting that he's bringing this up before ahead of Austria, the Red Bull Ring, because that has to do with Max Verstappen. There's controversy of Max Verstappen going to Mercedes. So I think it's interesting that George is bringing this up now ahead of the Austria GP.
Yeah. I think that might be interesting ahead of the Austria GP. I think um, we didn't really talk about this in our Canadian review, but George did a couple little cheeky little moves to try and
Hmm.
get Max to get that penalty, right? Because remember, if
Yes.
he gets one more penalty, then he gets a race ban, um, and that that still continues through this
Hmm.
Austrian race. So I had read something somewhere that said Max might want to tank a race here pretty soon,
Hmm.
so that he can so that he can trigger his contract clause that would allow him to get out of Red Bull. Um,
Interesting.
and so I kind of wonder, and Toto Wolff has been on the record saying that him not signing Max Verstappen was like his greatest regrets and blah blah
Hmm.
blah. And I don't like Toto, so to me, I'm trying not to be biased or unbiased, but
Hmm.
where it there's literally 9 team principals that can say that the greatest regret is not signing Max Verstappen.
Right. Yeah.
So, of course, I just think it's kind of coincidental that you got this rumor that Max may be tanking a race to trigger a clause, and to
Mhm.
your point, Mercedes is not signing George Russell, and
Right.
so now I'm kind of wondering, like, hmm, maybe one is waiting for the other shoe to fall.
Hmm. Absolutely.
I think Mercedes would be absolutely categorically stupid to not sign George Russell.
I agree. Oh, absolutely. If they signed Max over George, that would be the end of them, I think. George and Kimi are a great team. George has been with them for years. I think that would be a terrible idea.
well, and you look at like the two biggest people that hate each other in Formula One, it's Max and George. So
Right.
that would just piss off all the Mercedes fans. It would piss
Yep.
off all the Red Bull fans. And then
Right.
the two principals that hate each other, Christian Horner and
Right.
Toto Wolff. So it's like, I don't understand. I know why I know why anybody would want to jump ship if for a better
Hmm.
opportunity. I mean, so
Absolutely.
I just hope that Mercedes will stand their ground and say we don't want another douchebag on our team. We've already got Total
Right.
Wolf. We don't. We're full up on
Well,
douchebags.
that's debatable, but
um, I had one other quick note that I just want to maybe see if it's a talking point that
hmm.
we kind of discussed Lando and his difficulties. Um, Last year at Austria, George Russell was the winner, but he was
Hmm.
the winner because Lando and Max were fighting.
Right.
Of course, 2 weeks ago in Canada, Lando crashes into Piastri and screws his own race up.
Hmm.
And then this, it's not uncommon for the big name drivers to take a practice off to give a junior driver a chance. And
Yeah.
so Dunn is subbing in for Lando. And normally, I don't think that that's notable at all. I think it's
Hmm.
notable. I wonder if it's notable this time around, just because Lando needs to get back in the saddle.
Yes, I agree.
And
He does
it,
need to get back in the saddle.
so I'm
Definitely.
kind of surprised that they chose this race, and I don't know. Maybe it's predetermined, months or whatever
Yeah.
in advance. I don't. It's something I'd have to look into. But I read that and was like, man, this seems like bad timing.
Yeah, it's absolutely bad timing. Lando didn't perform well last year, and he didn't perform well last race. So I think that he needs all the help he can get this weekend.
Agreed. Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else you want to bring up about Austria?
Um, I'll just lastly say we got a weather report this
Oh yeah.
morning, and the FIA has allowed all teams to close the garage doors for, I think, for at least today for practice. I'm not sure about the weekend, probably once the weather clears up, but there was hail on the track this morning. So we'll see what that does for practice and quali.
So yeah, this is being filmed on Thursday, but there's not practice today. But I think the
Correct.
thing that the thing that makes me curious about that is like we just talked about Ferrari doing an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
If the doors are closed, then
Right.
maybe teams can bolt on some upgrades that they weren't advertising,
Yes.
that people don't
So
see.
who flew the hail in is my question. Who made that decision?
And we'll see. And we might see a bunch of different setup changes,
Mm-hmm.
that people didn't know about because the doors were
Right.
closed.
Right.
Normally doors have to be open all the time so people can kind of
Hmm.
see to make sure everybody's doing on. So yeah, that's a good call out. What do you think for predictions?
My prediction is this, and after talking through it, I don't like making this prediction, but I say pole position is going to Max Verstappen.
All
And it's because he has the most wins and the most pole positions, and it's called the Red Bull ring. What are you gonna do? Do I hope it's Oscar? Yes, but we can't keep giving Oscar every single point ever. So I'm
Yeah.
going Max for pole.
For pole position, I am also going for Max for pretty much the same reasons you just said. He is really good in Austria.
Hmm.
It's one of his three home races because
Hmm.
he's a lucky SOB that gets three home races. It's the Red Bull Ring, um, and Austria is a race car driver track. Like
Hmm.
it's and I can talk all the smack I want about Max Verstappen. He's still the best driver on the grid. I mean,
Yeah,
there's not there's no debate. He's the best driver.
except maybe
Um,
Oscar.
I hope
We'll
that's true, but
see. We'll
I think
see.
right now I still think Max is better. He just Oscar's in a better car, but
Well, we have heard, just like from past interviews, yes, I think you're right. Max currently is a better driver,
yeah,
but it's been said like, or between Lando and Oscar, like there's one interview where Lando Norris says that he like if he's in a fight with Max, he backs off because he knows that Max is going to beat him. And Oscar is kind of like, I wouldn't do that. I don't back off
yeah,
with Max Verstappen because I know I can beat him. And I think like some part of Max knows that Oscar can probably beat him as well. So I think you're right. Max currently is the best driver, but Oscar's coming up there.
I agree. I'm gonna try and pull this up and see if I can. I'll share it on this podcast. Otherwise, we'll do it for the next one. But
Hmm.
we didn't do a review of the Canadian Grand Prix, but 80 journalists during the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, 80 journalists were polled about the best driver on the grid.
Hmm.
Not best car, not best, and not unanimously, overwhelmingly number one. So 80 journalists were
Hmm.
polled, 80 F1 journalists were polled
Hmm.
about who the best driver. Overwhelmingly, it was Max Verstappen.
Right.
Number two was Charles Leclerc. Number three was George Russell.
Oh,
And it's as they currently are, because Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso would have been in that conversation 5, 10 years
right,
ago.
right.
But the top five, Lando Norris was not in the top five.
Hmm.
I couldn't
Oscar
even say he
wasn't in
might
the
have
top five?
was in the top five.
Okay.
It was I'm going to see if I can pull it up because I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, but I know it was for sure it was Max, Charles, George in that order, and then I think it was Lewis and Fernando or Lewis and Oscar. I can't remember.
Okay.
Maybe it
Okay.
wasn't
I'm
Oscar.
happy to hear
Yeah,
Charles up there because
everybody thinks he's a great driver.
he
Just
is a
Ferrari
great
screwed him.
driver. He is a great driver. We need to get him in a better car and we need Ferrari to have better strategists. I don't understand how you're the longest standing team in Formula One and you don't know how to do strategy.
Yep,
That
yep,
doesn't make sense. And it's not fair. And I want Charles to be in the conversation more this year. But, they still have time to turn it around. We have to hope.
yeah. I agree. I mean, I'm most excited for next year. I'm so excited for next year
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
it's changing to something that's going to hopefully benefit Ferrari a little bit. But all right,
Absolutely.
so pole position, we both have Max.
Yes.
Podium, I am bucking the trend, but I'm going with Oscar winning and
Okay.
beating Max. I
All
have
right.
Max second, and I have Lando
Okay.
third.
Okay. I put Oscar, Max, and George, but after
Ooh.
having our conversation here, I'm kind of wondering if that's really realistic with Max's point situation. And I don't know if we can have Max and George up there without Max either backing off so he doesn't get that race ban or something happening. But I don't know. I'm just
Well,
gonna leave it as it is because it's a little
yeah,
feisty. So Oscar, Max, George, but I'd be interested to see like how the points go, penalties go with that situation.
yeah, that's actually interesting because last week we had, or 2 weeks ago, at the last race we had George in first and Max in second,
Hmm. Hmm.
and Max had to mind his p's and q's, so he
Yeah,
didn't get a penalty. But
right,
if your prediction's true and Max is ahead of George, George is going to be trying to pass Max, and
right.
Max is maybe more. I like that. That's kind of cool.
It's gonna get
Yeah,
messy. It's gonna get
yeah.
messy.
I don't know that. I kind of think that it's not a prediction. I don't really have any reason to think this. I just don't think this is going to be Mercedes this weekend. Not because
Okay.
of anything Mercedes does, but because I think McLaren's going to be dialed in, and
Okay.
for a million reasons you and I just discussed. Um, of course, Max is going to be dialed in. It's Red Bull
Yeah.
Ring. It's so. I honestly just don't think there's room on the podium. It's not
Hmm.
that George or Kimmy's going to have a bad weekend. It's just that I mean I think I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah, yeah. Bold
all right. Bold
prediction?
prediction. I have Lewis finishing better than Charles. I don't really have a good reason for it, but I'm
You just
manifesting
feel it.
greatness. Yeah, and it doesn't mean I want Charles to do bad.
Hmm.
I just want. Um, I feel like Ferrari would be a lot. Will be a lot better when they're both doing well.
Hmm.
And so I'm
Absolutely.
just trying to kind of put good vibes in the universe. So in a perfect world, Lewis wins, Charles gets second.
Okay.
But but uh, I would like to see both of them in the top five. But I would like to see Lewis ahead of Charles just for kind of the psyche of the Ferrari team.
Yeah. Lewis has been struggling a little bit these past weeks. I think he needs a little bit of a win.
Yeah, I agree. What
My
about
bold
you?
prediction, I'm actually not sure if this bold prediction works with my podium because I'm not sure does his race ban come into effect right away. But my bold prediction is that Max is gonna get that race, he's gonna get that penalty point and he's gonna get that race ban. But does that take away from his podium if he
No,
podiums? No?
the
So,
race ban will be he has to sit out next week
right.
or
Okay.
next
So
race.
Bible prediction, he's getting that penalty. He's gonna get that race ban. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm manifesting.
I um I will manifest right along with you because I would love to
Okay.
see that happen. I kind of think it won't. I mean, I know that that's what the conspiracy theory is, but this is Max's home track at Red Bull Ring. I mean,
Yeah.
I want it to happen, but I just kind of think that he when he's not in the car, he's still pretty smart. When he's in the car, he
Yeah.
sometimes becomes stupid.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Austria. I'm excited for this part of this is probably my favorite segment of the entire seat racing season because it's just all of
Hmm.
my favorite tracks. We got Monza
Right.
coming up. We got Silverstone coming up.
Yes.
Um, Spa is a great track, and there's a lot of shakeup coming for the next couple seasons because I think this is
Hmm.
Spa's last year. Austria is moving to every other year, so um,
What a
we might be
mess.
seeing
What a
some of the
mess.
last things. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool. Do you have
absolutely.
any final thoughts?
No, we will keep you up on that weather update. Hopefully it continues to hail a little bit, at least into practice. I'd like to see a little drama on the track. Hopefully not mess up the race though. Don't want to see hail for the race. That would not be good.
No, I mean any kind of weather that that helps Max.
Yes.
Um,
And that will help Max. If it's hailing, Max is gonna win. So
raining or
hoping
winding, yeah,
anything other than sun, that Max is your guy.
agreed. All right,
All
you
right.
guys, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we will talk to you shortly after the race to do our review of our predictions, and we'll figure out how wrong Natalie and I were.
All right, bye guys.
See ya.